Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinix.
Never gets old. How are you this morning? Great. Good morning, Ayo. How are you?
Good morning.
Perfect.
Very well, thanks.
Kayode.
Morning.
Always nice to see you.
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, good morning to you, viewers. Let's begin what's trending. The supplementary budget submitted by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu requesting the allocation of over 7.3 billion naira for the procurement of cars for the presidential villa, as well as an additional 13.5 billion naira for renovations, continues to generate reactions. A further breakdown of the 2.17 trillion naira supplementary budget submitted to the National Assembly on Monday revealed that the federal government earmarked 12.7 billion naira for the presidential air fleet and intends to spend 5 billion naira for the purchase of a presidential yacht. The proposed sum is under the capital expenditure of the Nigerian Navy's budget. Additionally, the Navy will require 62.8 billion naira for its operations. The government, however, earmarked a total of 5.5 billion naira for the Education Loan Fund under the Student Loan Act, eliciting outrage among many Nigerians. Well, let's take some reactions. This is from Kalu, who wrote, Nigeria has a spending problem, not a revenue problem. Cars for First Lady, 1.5 billion. Student loans, 5 billion naira. I mean, the cars for the office of the First Lady are 30% of the student loan allocation for all students across Nigeria that qualify. Explain this to me, please. Well, another Twitter user there goes, presidential yacht belongs to Nigerian Navy, not Tinubu. 2. The history of the procurement and approval started before Buhari. 3. A budgetary proposal by Nigerian Navy can be approved or rejected by the National Assembly. 4. Nigerian Navy proposed 3.3 billion naira to buy presidential yacht during past federal government, not JEJ. 5. Newspaper headlines to sell business. 6. Budgetary approval is not the same as cash release. Well, another Twitter user there goes, the presidential fleet already received a 13 billion naira allocation in the 2023 approved budget. Now, another 12 billion naira allocation in the proposed supplementary budget. Why? The Office of the National Security Advisor also received 73 billion allocation in the 2023 budget. Now, another 29 billion. Well, Dr. Abati, I feel like all I'm saying is billion, billion, billion. But I know that, historically, these budgets always elicit reactions by many Nigerians. This presidential fleet budget, I believe, from the past administration, we've spent about 73.3 billion naira on presidential fleet alone. I mean, a lot of questions here. People are asking, where is the money going to come from? Where is this money going to come from? Today, I see on this day, on the cover from the ministerial retreat, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu seek National Assembly nod to borrow another $7.8 billion and another 100 million euros from external loans. Where is the money going to come from, Dr. Abati?
Okay.
Borrowing again.
The president yesterday was saying that, borrowing is not a crime. Mm-hmm. And earlier on this program today, I said, yes, while borrowing is not a crime, Nigerians are concerned about the quantum and the fact that in Nigeria, we borrow for consumption, not for production. And that the appropriate emphasis should be on production rather than consumption. Okay? So the argument that borrowing is not a crime, yes, the ordinary man will consider it a crime. If the money that is borrowed, if the money that the government is asking for in the supplementary budget is going to be used to buy new vehicles of over 2 billion, to buy a yacht of 5 billion, to buy vehicles for the First Lady's office for 1.5 billion. And I think that the National Assembly has a responsibility to make sure that they look at these proposals from the presidency with a fine-tooth comb, in line with the expectations of Nigerians. Nigerians are being asked every day to make sacrifice. The people in government should also make their own sacrifice. Now, on the question of the yacht, I've seen a comment somewhere saying that, in fact, that the Nigerian Navy used to have a yacht. Well, a yacht, in ordinary understanding, is a luxury jet for pleasure,
Absolutely.
for pleasure
That's
trips.
what a yacht is, yes.
Yeah, but what I was told is that there was a particular yacht that the Navy had called NNS Amaria. Look at that name, they even give it. NNS Amaria. And that particular yacht was seized from a former governor. And then the Nigerian Navy converted it for training purposes, and also for ceremonial purposes. But that particular yacht was decommissioned in 2011. Now, what we do not know is whether or not the Nigerian government had ordered for another yacht. But, in the thinking of the ordinary man, they would think that this should be a period for austerity on the part of our government officials. And, the only yacht that I have boarded is that of Femi Otedola, the billionaire. It was luxury that I saw around, for the few minutes that I was inside on board. But the truth of the matter is that when Nigerians hear yacht, they think of luxury. So if there is any background information, because it's even possible that the yacht they are talking about has been ordered. And they say it's the Nigerian Navy that is going to use it.
No, Dr. Abati.
So they need to give us information.
Have you not seen the request of the
5 billion.
It is there.
Yes, for the yacht.
So if you're asking for 5 billion, it's not a yacht that has already been ordered.
They have a lot of explanations.
Okay, exactly. Because
and Nigerians are saying,
facts.
we don't need a yacht.
Yes.
Can we cut our costs, downsize, and be sensitive to the people's feelings?
I'll take more reactions because there's a lot. This is from Brother Bath, who wrote, Tinubu's presidential yacht, luxury in penury. 133 million Nigerians live in multi-dimensional poverty. 20 million Nigerian children of school age are unable to attend school due to poverty, while 37% of Nigeria's children are malnourished, exposing them to retarded development. 2. Inflation in Nigeria is at all-time high of 26.72%. The country's total debt stands at 87 trillion naira, and its debt service to revenue ratio is a whopping 73.5%. Since removal of fuel subsidy and plummeting Naira value, most Nigerians go to bed hungry. Businesses are closing down, while job loss is on the increase. 4. Amidst this harsh economy, pains and penury, Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu wants to procure a presidential luxury yacht. 5. Can someone justify this for me again, please? A lot of questions. Then let me take Okweoluwa, who wrote, and this is something that I want to discuss. The USA used to have a presidential yacht called USS Sequoia. The Sequoia is a yacht that served 8 US presidents, the last being Herbert Hoover. Jimmy Carter became president when the USA economy had just exited a recession and was battling inflation and unemployment. Jimmy Carter, setting a cost-cutting example, ordered the presidential yacht sold in 1977. Till date, the USA, a $33 trillion economy, does not have a presidential yacht. Nigeria is in the same situation as USA in 1977. Rather than cut costs, our public office holders have gone on a spending spree with reckless abandon, as though it's out of fashion. You ask Nigerians to endure pain. But what pain are you enduring? Whether it will be funded or not. Why is a presidential yacht in the supplementary budget? Why the rush? I'd like to come to you, Ayo, on this story, but I also want to say that, like I said earlier, this has always elicited public outcry. Yes. Back in 2016, former President Buhari had said he was going to sell 2 presidential jets out of 10. Yes. We don't know if that has happened. But this is the point that I want to make.
Okay, so I'm really glad that you read Okweoluwa's tweet, because that was where I was going to come up from the US and the Sequoia. There are many countries that actually have a presidential yacht. Mm-hmm. And let me put it out there. Because it's under the Navy does not mean it is meant for combat or meant for security. It is actually, in fact, in the US, it used to be called the floating White House, and was given to the president and high-ranking officials in government to get away from public life, a little luxury, so that even though it comes comes under the Navy's purview. So let's not get deceived by, oh, it's under the Navy's budget. It is still what is supposed to be a yacht. It's not meant to go to battle. It's not a weapon of warfare. It is not going to be used by the Navy. It's going to be used by the president, just in the way that we have the presidential fleet. So let me just put that out there. There are other countries like Egypt, Finland, India, Italy, Philippines, Russia, and the likes that have a yacht, a presidential yacht, and it is for their presidents to enjoy. So there's nothing, so let's put that to rest. Going back to Woye's tweet that, oh, it's for the Navy, etc. Let's not put propaganda on this one.
Yes.
It's under the Navy's purview, but it's going to be for the president's use and leisure. And then it goes back to comparisons.
Yes.
5 billion naira. Oji, it sounds outrageous, especially under the current economic reality. And then in the same, at the same meeting, they put 5 billion naira for education. And this is the same president at the retreat yesterday who had talked about the importance of education, especially as a tool to tackling poverty. And he talked about the fact that this administration was going to pay very close attention to education. Of course, tertiary education or student loan is just a small fraction of the allocation to education, but it just smirks of it. It almost is ludicrous. What's the money going to go to to poverty alleviation? Yes, they've talked about 15 million households, 25,000 naira per month, and people are saying it's not enough. We have the presidential fleet. Why not sell off some of those flights? Don't forget that a few days ago, just on this show, we're talking about the president's son taking one of the presidential fleet, private jet, for a private visit for a polo match in one of the northern countries. We have that on ground. Abuse of power, abuse of money, especially your allocation, especially at this time when we are all told to tighten our belts. Here's what Nigerians would like to hear from this government. A demonstration of the fact that they feel the pulse of the people. And this is done by setting, even if it's a public show, to identify with the poorest of the poor in Nigeria. Cut all these extra expenses. Why are we buying new cars for the First Lady's office? Why? She had other cars. These people are not poor people. So in the interest of Nigerians, can they do something altruistic? Can they reject some of these things that even come with the paraphernalia of their office? Just to show Nigerians that we are in this together. And so when you're talking, you're not just talking, but you're walking the talk as well. Very important, but wrong signals, I hope it is totally squashed, not just before it gets to the House, but even at the FEC, it ought to have been totally done away with. I think it's an insult for Nigerians to see this kind of thing.
I love your points, Ayo. And you just hit the nail on the head. 1.5 billion naira for the office of the First Lady. Cars for the office of the First Lady. People are also asking, are these new costs reflecting the new FX rate? I mean, the price could be higher, wouldn't it?
Of course. By the time you look at the price of a dollar now, definitely it will go up. But I was going to respond to what Ruben was saying, that the Senate or the National Assembly should reject it. Which National Assembly are we talking about? Please, let's get realistic about the state of this country. In a situation where the National Assembly itself is looking for how many billions to buy their own SUVs, which a member of the Senate is saying we need it because of the bad road, which we have superintended and failed to make sure that those roads, we carry out our constituency duties and oversight duties. They did not carry that out. They did not make sure that the roads are good. But instead of making sure that the roads are good, they are focused completely on, don't worry about the road. We will buy vehicles that can survive on those roads. It's completely unacceptable. And it runs from the top to the bottom of our leadership in this country. And that is what we've got to focus on. If the president is saying, oh, I'm going to have KPIs for you, I'm going to ask this fantastic woman, Hadiza Bala Usman, to monitor. Who is monitoring the president? We are the citizens. We own this country. We have to ask the question, Mr. President, it's not acceptable. We're not saying your wife is not beautiful. She deserves to get a good vehicle, but you cannot spend that amount of money and spend it on vehicles for your wife, and then you buy a yacht for yourself, because if you say something is a presidential yacht, it is not for anybody else. The Navy cannot use the presidential yacht, just like the presidential aircraft cannot be used by the Air Force. It is meant for the president.
Well, we don't want them to buy a yacht. We don't want them to buy a yacht. But as for the Navy, if you have a ship, whether it's a yacht or whatever, it will be under the Navy. That's why I refer to NNS Amaria.
Yes.
But we don't want a yacht. Even the presidential fleet is controlled by the Nigerian Air Force.
Yes.
So don't let us misinform people.
Yes.
This is the reality. But we don't want a yacht. Whether they are using it for training, as they claim they were using the NNS Amaria that was decommissioned in 2011.
Ruben, I will need clarity on when you say something is presidential fleet.
No, I think you made the point already.
It's clear.
It is meant for the
It's
president.
meant for the president.
Is just clarifying that it's going to be under the Navy.
It will still be under the,
yeah, those are the 2 points that are clear. But I would like for you to know, because you just raised the point, very valid point, about which assembly is going to approve it. Just so you know, a green light from the National Assembly on the supplementary budget will raise Nigeria's total 2024 budget to 28.17 trillion naira. Where are we going?
We will borrow to fund it.
Borrow to fund consumption.
Yes.
Unacceptable.
That's the problem.
Borrow to fund consumption. Unacceptable. Well, all right. We'll take another story. In the midst of the outrage over the supplementary budget proposal, which we just discussed, of 2.17 trillion naira, some aggrieved Nigerians marched through the streets of Ogun State on Wednesday to protest the soaring cost of living. The protesters called on the federal government to improve their current social welfare interventions, saying that the incentives were not enough. Those women are protesting over the high cost of fish in your state. This is happening first in Ogun State, but I mean, this is what we are experiencing in Nigeria at this point. In the same vein, the House of Representatives has summoned the Minister of Humanitarian Affairs, Betta Edu, to provide details of the process and criteria used to select the 15 million households who will be beneficiaries of the 1.1 trillion naira conditional cash transfer scheme. The summons follows an adoption of a motion by PDP lawmaker from Osun State, Maruf Adebayo. On Tuesday, the lawmaker called for transparency, stating that there have been concerns about corruption and fraud in previous conditional cash transfer programs where funds intended for vulnerable people were misappropriated by individuals. Ayo, over to you. But you see, I think it is important. Kudos to that lawmaker who's called for, this probe into the conditional cash transfer scheme. We need to hear more from Betta Edu on how this process is going at this point. We don't want more Nigerians to go out on the street to protest. I mean, look at those women. Ordinary fish, they cannot buy. Ayo.
Fish is now gold.
Yes, fish is now gold. That's what they said.
I'm very glad that the minister, Dr. Betta Edu, has been summoned. This is a question we've asked a number of times on the show. In fact, when Dr. Betta Edu was a guest on the show, on the morning show, we had asked her the same question as to what is the procedure? How transparent will this process be? Because we don't want announcements saying we're going to do this. We questioned the National Social Register. There were controversies around that from the last administration, and we asked the question if she was going to probe what happened in the last administration, and the question was the response was quite vague. We questioned, okay, have they rectified some of the challenges in terms of beneficiaries? She said they were going to do that. How will these monies be dispersed? How do you identify people who are most in need and so on? That question has not been answered. The only thing we hear are announcements and the fact that, we're going to support people who are vulnerable. We know what happened in the last administration, Oji. We don't want to say too much until there's a proper investigation instituted and we find out the facts of who are these people that were beneficiaries. Almost, they say ghost workers. We have ghost beneficiaries as well in some instances, as we cannot trace them. I hope the House will do its due diligence ask appropriate questions, and most importantly, Oji, beyond the asking, the summoning and asking of questions, because many people have been summoned before. Ponde was summoned, and then we've had many summons, and then nothing concrete comes out of this. We hope it will not just be a show and they ask questions and then it ends there, but the investigations will be carried, and then Nigerians can be, can hold the government accountable, and this 1.1 trillion naira to the very last kobo will know how the money was spent.
Well said, Ayo. Well, let's head over to Kenya now, where Britain's King Charles and Queen Camilla began their second day of a state visit on the country on Wednesday. The King's visit comes at a time when former colonies are demanding that Britain do more to recognize the abuses of its colonial past. Survivors of colonial-era abuses in Kenya have criticized the monarch's failure to issue a full apology or propose repatriations. At a state dinner on Tuesday, King Charles expressed his deepest regret for what he called abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans during the country's independence struggle.
The wrongdoings of the past are a cause of the greatest sorrow and the deepest regret. There were abhorrent and unjustifiable acts of violence committed against Kenyans as they waged, as you said at the United Nations, a painful struggle for independence and sovereignty. And for that, there can be no excuse. In coming back to Kenya, it matters greatly to me that I should deepen my own understanding of these wrongs, and that I meet some of those whose lives and communities were so grievously affected. None of this can change the past, but by addressing our history with honesty and openness, we can perhaps demonstrate the strength of our friendship today. And in so doing, we can, I hope, continue to build an ever closer bond for the years ahead.
As the Mau revolt from 1952 to 1960, over 90,000 Kenyans were killed. Dr. Abati, I mean, all these people are asking for is an apology just to, try to, maybe that's just the first step in healing this process. Dr. Abati, quickly. Okay,
well, I mean, the king didn't apologize. No. People will expect that an apology will be given, which is curious, considering the fact that when, his mom, Queen Elizabeth II, of now blessed memory, passed, amidst all the praise singing, there were persons who said specifically that, look, she was a symbol of the colonial past and imperialism in different parts of the world. But the king, in visiting Kenya, recognized that, these were colonial abuses. But what concerned persons are asking for is a direct apology.
Yes.
The second thing will be that people are asking for reparations.
Reparations.
Former colonized peoples are asking for the return of artifacts that have been taken. And, Britain has not been so much in the forefront of that. Some intellectuals in Britain are trying to justify it. But the major theme from the King's speech in Kenya was about modern partnership with Kenya. But the people definitely expect more than that.
All right, then. We'll take our final story under entertainment, highlighting the wedding ceremony of Made Kuti, the grandson of late Afrobeat legend Fela Anikulapo Kuti, who tied the knot with his longtime partner, Ini Doye Oyeso. The couple exchanged vows in the presence of close friends and family, including Afrobeat star Femi Kuti, who's Made's father, on Wednesday, November 1st. The traditional wedding ceremony followed immediately, and the couple shared their first dance. Made's mother, Funke Kuti, also took to the stage to dance to Sweet Mother with her son in this video that has now gone viral.
Sweet mother, I no go forget you.
Congratulations, Made Kuti. I mean, this video turned me off. I cried 3 times. Congratulations. There's nothing like the joy of a mother. Made, enjoy your mother as much as you can. Congratulations on your wedding. Absolutely amazing. I'd like to thank you all for your great analysis, as always. on What's Trending. Kayode, stop crying. It's enough.
I miss my mother too.
Well, all right. That's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.